Who really controls your currency? The hidden forces behind exchange rates. Every day, the value of your money is being silently renegotiated. You go to sleep with one exchange rate, and you wake up with another. No announcement, no negotiation, no one asking for your permission. And here is the part most people never realize. You can be earning more, saving more, even getting a raise, and still losing value at the same time. Because when your currency weakens, everything priced in another currency quietly becomes more expensive. Your imports, your investments, even parts of your company's cost structure. And yet, somehow, the entire global financial system agrees on a new price for your money almost instantly. You cannot walk into a bank and argue for a better rate. You cannot call a central authority and ask why your currency just lost value overnight. So who is actually deciding the price of your money? So how is the exchange rate between two currencies actually determined? Most people assume there must be someone in control. A central bank, a government, a group of policymakers deciding what a currency should be worth. And to some extent, that feels logical. After all, central banks set interest rates. Governments manage economic policy, so they must also control the exchange rate. But that is not the whole story. In reality, an exchange rate is simply the price of one currency relative to another. And like any price in a market, it is determined by supply and demand. If more people want to buy a currency than sell it, the price goes up. If more people want to sell it than buy it, the price goes down. Now bring that into a real business context. Imagine your company is importing more goods this quarter. Every payment to a foreign supplier requires foreign currency. That increases demand for that currency, while increasing the supply of your local currency being sold. And this is exactly what creates a supply and demand imbalance. A situation where one side of the market consistently outweighs the other, pushing the exchange rate in a specific direction.
In a meeting, you might hear someone say, "We are seeing a supply and demand imbalance in the FX market this quarter." What they mean is not abstract. They are saying demand is overwhelming supply and that pressure is already showing up in pricing. You can use it just as directly. There is a clear imbalance between demand for dollars and supply of local currency, and it is starting to affect our import costs. Now, here is where many people stop. They think trade flows explain everything. But even if trade is perfectly balanced, exchange rates can still move significantly, because the second force is often stronger than trade itself. Capital movement. Money does not just move because of goods, it moves because of expectations. When investors believe an economy is stable, predictable, and offering attractive returns, they move capital into that country. They buy bonds, equities, and other assets. And to do that, they need the local currency. That demand strengthens the currency. But when that confidence starts to weaken, the shift can happen very quickly. Investors begin to exit positions. They sell local assets, convert proceeds into foreign currency, and move capital elsewhere. This is what professionals call capital flight. You will hear this phrase in serious discussions, especially when risk starts building beneath the surface. Someone might say, "The currency is weakening due to capital flight, even though trade data looks stable." That sentence tells you something important. The visible economy may look fine, but money is already leaving. And in your own work, you can use it just as naturally. If uncertainty continues, we could see capital flight, which would put additional pressure on the currency. Now, add another layer. Capital does not move randomly. It follows incentives. One of the strongest incentives is interest rates. If a country offers higher interest rates relative to others, global investors are more likely to allocate capital there. They can earn better returns, so they buy assets denominated in that currency. That increases demand and pushes the currency higher. If rates fall or if other countries offer better returns, that flow can reverse. Money leaves, demand drops, and the currency weakens. And when multiple forces start pushing in the same direction,
we begin to see what professionals describe as exchange rate pressure. This is not a single event. It is a buildup of forces. Rising imports, declining investor confidence, and lower interest rates can all combine to create downward pressure on a currency. In a meeting, you might hear, rising import demand and declining inflows are putting pressure on the exchange rate this quarter. And that phrase matters because it connects cause and consequence in a way that decision-makers immediately understand. You can apply it directly. Increased demand for foreign currency is putting pressure on our exchange rate, and we need to factor that into our cost projections. Now, you might still be wondering, where do central banks fit into all of this? They are not absent, but they are not in full control either. Central banks can influence exchange rates by adjusting interest rates, signaling policy direction, or directly intervening in the market by buying or selling currencies. But they are reacting to the same underlying forces: supply and demand, capital flows, market expectations. They can slow movements. They can stabilize extremes, but they cannot permanently override the market. I remember a meeting where this became very real. We were reviewing quarterly performance, and the discussion quickly turned to rising costs. The CFO leaned forward and said, "We are seeing strong exchange rate pressure this quarter, and it is already impacting our margins." Another manager added, "There is a clear supply and demand imbalance, especially with increased demand for dollars from our suppliers." Then someone else raised a concern. If this continues and investor sentiment weakens further, we could start seeing capital flight. At that point, the currency move will accelerate. The room went quiet for a moment, because everyone understood what that meant. Not next year, not in theory, but now, in the numbers they were about to report. No one stopped to explain the terms. No one needed to. This was how professionals described risk in real time, and that is the real shift. Not just understanding how exchange rates work, but being able to describe them the way people do inside the room where decisions are made. So here is something to try today. Think about a recent movement in exchange rates that affected your company, your clients, or even your personal finances. Then describe it in one sentence using one of the phrases we discussed, not as a definition, but as if you were explaining it in a real meeting. Because in this industry, how you explain something is often more important than what you know. If this helped you sound more confident in your next finance meeting, share it with a colleague who's working on their English too. Subscribe to Learn English Listening for a new lesson with Mr. Wason every week.